What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Grimmsnarl, the Clover special, back on the channel here. And today I am joined this time by yet another special guest, not for battles, but for recapping and also spotlighting Grimmsnarl because they also just won a tournament with it. So why not bring him onto the channel here to discuss Grimmsnarly things. So today we have JagSamurott on the channel again. Jag was a guest about 2 years ago on the channel. So Jag, it's been a while since you've been on the channel. We've grown quite a bit. Welcome back to the channel. Would you like to say hello to our viewers?
Yo, what up? It's just me, Jag. I used to be Average Pikachu back in the day. I think that's what I was referred to back in that old video, back in that Voltris video, all the way so long ago. But yeah, back at it, still keeping at it. Let's get it.
Yeah, I remember that. Average Pikachu was your name, and I believe you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You do a little bit of Smogon stuff. Is that correct?
Nah, I don't do Smogon.
Oh, okay. That must have been someone else. Ooh, that's all right. That's all right. So basically, we're going to be discussing a little bit about Grimmsnarl. Now, Jag, the viewer might say, you know, Grimmsnarl being the dark type is pretty much getting, quote unquote, either almost one-shot or one-shotted by a Flutter Mane that's running around in the meta. But you said that doesn't matter. You won a tournament with Grimmsnarl, and we're going to show that team in a second. But why did you decide to go ahead and still use Grimmsnarl despite the Flutter Mane running around?
Well, I kind of just wanted to have screens, and I realized that through some testing, that screens were really good. And you only have like 2 real options for, like, specifically prankster screens, because being able to move first is really, really beneficial. And it was Klefki and Grimmsnarl.
Right.
And Grimmsnarl just offered a lot more overall. And like, despite being a dark type, obviously in a Flutter Mane world, on paper that sounds bad, but like with one light screen, if you are especially bulky enough, you pretty much live any single Flutter Mane move. And most of the time against those really like aggressive Flutter Mane teams, you don't even need the Grimmsnarl necessarily to stick around for the whole game. So like just 2 turns is enough a lot of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I've used a lot of Grimmsnarl in the Sword and Shield days. Like if you, the viewer, have been watching this channel since then, you know we had like 15 different Grimmsnarl stats doing 15 different things depending on the team. And you're right, it does offer a little bit more than what Klefki can do. Yes, you know, the Klefki has the typing a little bit, does offer Trick Room. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but the Grimmsnarl has a little bit more better of support moves in general, right? And you were using a little bit more than just screens, and we're going to get to Jag's set in a second and his team, but just to show you a little bit of how Grimmsnarl was rising in the meta, we're going to spotlight some of these tournaments here. This one in particular, the Pollen Puff Portland Regional Prep. This is a tournament about a week ago or so, and if you look at this person here, Malaro, VGC, they also had a Grimmsnarl, got second place in this tournament. And Jag, if you take a look at this set, you can see it is a Light Crate Grimmsnarl, and it is Prankster and Terra Poison, right? So that's probably for Flutter Mane. But what do you think of this set here with Sucker Punch and Misty Terrain?
So for me, I ran Spirit Break as my offensive move, and while I think Spirit Break is like a really good move just because Fairy is a good offensive typing, Sucker Punch definitely does make sense. Like, there are a lot of times where you just want to have a move that just goes first and hits things. Like, there are definitely times where Grimmsnarl has set both screens and it's still on the board, but it's going down this turn, so it's like, kind of just sitting there. So yeah, Sucker Punch definitely makes sense in that front. And also just breaking sashes or like KOing sash mons, that sort of thing. Definitely can see Sucker Punch for sure. And Misty Terrain is a very interesting one. Usually Grimmsnarl has like screens, its offensive move, and then its tech move. Misty Terrain is a unique one, but I honestly really like it because mons like Annihilate can have a really hard time dealing with Amoonguss.
Exactly.
And so if you just don't want to run Vital Spirit, because you definitely shouldn't do that, if you just run Misty Train, like all of a sudden your Among Us problems are much easier to deal with.
Yeah, and you're annihilate you if you can just preserve your Terra and not have to force Terra Fire. I'm sorry. No, I was thinking of something else. But yeah, if you can just use your Misty Terrain and not get burned by not even having to waste your Terra, that's also pretty huge. In addition to that, and like you said, right, the Among Us can be a little bit problematic here. So this is another thing that Grimmsnarl can offer to a team besides screens. And again, like I said, priority Sucker Punch is cool. So if you just look at the rest of the team overall, you definitely want screens here. Like Gastrodon in general, definitely appreciate screens. Remember, maybe about a couple months ago where 45 Mice had that Terrifier Gastrodon team with the Grimmsnarl. I feel like the Gastrodon was only like good just because there was screens, because without it, it was still like kind of frail. But now that you have those screens, you can kind of just like sit there and do a little bit of chip damage, click recover, and then everything else very much appreciates screens, especially the Flutter Mane, right? Because it's always like a little bit frail, and you definitely want screens for your Flutter Mane too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Flutter Mane is like deceptively bulky, especially like the frankly gross like spreads that people are doing sometimes with like 252 HP, 252 defense. Like Flutter Mane can be like shockingly bulky, and then if you pair that with screens, then yeah, that can just live.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of these teams that we're going to show you actually feature both Grimmsnarl and Flutter Mane, and we're going to talk about that in another point in the video, because sometimes some of you guys are a little bit scared to pair both fairies on the same team, but there's a reason why you can still get away with that, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But let's look at another tournament here. This is from the Neme Weekly regulationC tour number 25, and now this is a winning Grimmsnarl team. But look at this set right here. You got a non-screen set. This is one of my favorite sets back in like Sword and Shield. This is like a Dynamax set. No screens, but you do get Fake Out. You do get Spirit Break. You do get Scary Face and Fake Tears. So what do you think this person is trying to do here, Jag?
This is definitely like, it's trying to be like one of the older like oppressive, because all the mons here are very aggressive. You got Life Orb, Flutter Mane, Boosters Bundle. I wouldn't even be surprised if that was Booster Special Attack based on the rest of the team. Wide Lens Geo, that's kind of funny.
Oh my god, I just noticed that.
Bro doesn't want to miss. But yeah, like Scary Face, it's just like a really good move, because if you just Scary Face something, a lot of mons will be able to outspeed anything if you just Scary Face it, and as opposed to Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave can't miss. And like the argument behind Thunder Wave can be, oh, it can get paras, but usually like this team is very fast paced, so it's like it seems like there'd be much fewer turns that it would get its Thunder Wave proc off. So Scary Face for the consistency makes a lot of sense. Fake Tears, probably the main reason we're running Grimmsnarl. This specific set of Grimmsnarl, very funny move. It'll definitely catch a lot of people off guard even in open team sheet. Like you can see that and you can go, oh, okay, I know it's there. What do I have to do against it? I don't know. So it's just, it can just get you, and then Fake Out. I ran Fake Out. Fake Out's just a really good move. And you circumvent the weakness to Flutter Mane by just being Sash.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can you just imagine, like, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 special attackers, and then of course you got Fake Tears, and then you have Chiyu that's already like dropping special defenses with Beads of Ruin, and then if you can just time that with like Fake Tears especially, sometimes they're like almost forced to switch out. They can't take that damage, right?
Yeah, it's very hard to handle damage, especially with Scary Face basically being pseudo Tailwind in a way. Just really helps apply the pressure.
Yeah, and speaking of Tailwind, people forget Scizor does get Tailwind, and I'm super glad to see this on Kremlin's thing over here. It's Scizor Tailwind with Quick Guard, denying priority, right? Because like, how do you beat this team? You have to like somehow outspeed it, or like or even just like go with like a priority move. But then Scizor just says, no, we're gonna have Tailwind. We're gonna make everything faster, even though we have everything that's like relatively fast, and then just add Quick Guard to deny the priority stuff. This is actually a really, really cool team. So shout outs to Kremlin for utilizing this set. And then we'll get into your tour over here. And before we look at your team, we're going to look at another Grimmsnarl player who also got top cut in this tour, 7-3 from Chuggle. And they were using this kind of set. So, they also had a Goldango on their team, just like you. But here is a screen set, but this time there is a parting shot there. So, Jag, what do you think of parting shot on this kind of Grimmsnarl set here with screens?
Parting shot is like really good. I think it's a lot better in balanced teams, so to say.
Yeah.
The issue with parting shot in Grimmsnarl, even though it's like we saw it get it in the beginning and everyone was freaking out, like, how did they give this thing parting shot? The real issue with parting shot on a Grimmsnarl is that it's not very strong in the back, and it's hard. You have to have something that obviously switches into it. A lot of these mons do have trouble there, but just the immediate like dropping of attack and special attack can just be like really, really crucial for like the Goldango seems obviously like really bulky. Flutter Mane's probably bulky. Like a lot of mons here, while they seem frail, probably do just like live moves. So I did play this player. I did play this player in Swiss, I believe. Let me just make sure. No, I played them in top 16.
Ah, even better.
Yeah.
So did they bring the Grimmsnarl?
I believe they did. And how I took advantage of Grimmsnarl, because the one weakness I will give Grimmsnarl is it's hard to make work in the face of setup mons.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you see their Goldango, I had my own, and setup mons are pretty good into the standard screen set because you get the screens once, and while they are buffing up their damage quite a lot and just can kind of steamroll. So, but parting shot definitely also helps with that slowing down your roll kind of deal. So yeah, I definitely think there's a reason this Grimmsnarl set went real deep in this big old tour.
Yeah, for sure. And like, the argument was like, with Incineroar parting shot versus a Grimmsnarl parting shot. If you're not careful with a prankster parting shot, because remember that parting shot goes first, right? And then whatever you bring in is gonna get hit. Whereas like with the Incineroar parting shot, because you're so slow, the Incineroar is gonna take all that damage first, and then you get the parting shot off, and then you bring in the Pokemon back in, and that's a free switch in because then it's at full health. You don't risk it, taking damage because of a priority parting shot. So that's the whole the argument there with like Grimmsnarl and Incineroar, but still a pretty cool one. Yeah.
I like personally speaking, I think slow pivoting is like really strong because for that reason, especially like damaging pivoting. Like U-turn is like U-turn and Volt Switch are typically better when you're faster because like if you're like Tapu Koko, you're just so fast you might as well get damage if you're switching out. But if you're like for like Incineroar and Grimmsnarl, like them having a guaranteed I'm either getting KO'd and switching out into this mono I want in, or I'm parting shot and getting KO'd to this one I want in. Like there was no joke a time where I was trying to make a hard Trick Room team that uses teleport. The only teleport mod was Claydol. I was considering that just because slow pivoting is that strong.
Yeah, it's very important. It's basically a free switch, right?
Yeah, it's like a free switch.
Yeah, it's very, very important. That's like one of those VGC mechanics, battle mechanics kind of thing. But we digress. So now let's talk about your team because this is one reason why we brought you here onto the channel, not to just talk about Grimmsnarl, but talk about this team in general. So Jag won this tour. This is the Nino Pokebros tour. This is a big tournament. This is basically 200 plus people. Jag came out on top, and he's got super cool options here. Jag, you got Annihilate with no mouse hold. We're gonna talk about that. We see an Iron Moth, which I'm sure you're gonna talk a little bit about as well. But here's your Grimmsnarl set. You've got screens, but you have Spirit Break and Fake Out. So what was the idea here with this set?
So Spirit Break is just really good damaging move. Like it does shockingly well into like if a Flutter Mane ignores your Grimmsnarl, if you Spirit Break it, it's like so heavily neutered, and it also takes around half because it's a physical attack. And it's like either has to switch out, which is its booster it really doesn't want to do, or it's just sitting there doing not very much damage, especially behind the screens. And that's the reason why I'm Spirit Break. Just strong fairy coverage move. I don't want to run like I really do not like mons that just kind of sit there do nothing.
Right.
And Spirit Break helps that not happen to Grimmsnarl.
Exactly.
And then Fake Out. The reason I'm Fake Out is just because Fake Out's a pretty good move. It just helps clean up positions. It helps apply pressure for you to get away with screens. Like there are times where people double protect turn 1, and you're setting up screens, and so you just get a free turn. It maybe even screens in a like you highlighting bulk up or nasty plot, like screens tailwind. Just like it buys you time to get stuff off, and also it's just like pretty good into like very specific mons. Like there's a lot of choice item mons, and a lot of them just get faked out. They just
Right.
get a little clap on the head, and they can't move that turn. And like some of those mons really don't want to get faked out. Like it's ironic that the biggest fake out target that I want to hit is Dragonite because that can have inner focus, but it's mostly multi-scale, and fake out is so good into multi-scale Dragonite because they almost never run protect. They have their multi-skill broken, and they can't move that turn. So
Yeah.
it's just a move that buys you time. I will admit, I will look into Misty Terrain, and like there's just a lot of options that Grimmsnarl can have that Fake Out doesn't necessarily have to be the end all be all. Misty Terrain is a neat one, I will admit.
Yeah, for sure. But like, like you said, fake out just it allows you to what we call create space. That's another one of those mechanics we like to mention by just by having the pressure or the idea of going for fake out in an open team sheet. It almost either forces them to protect, and then by that logic, you can kind of read that and say, you know what, they're gonna protect, and then that's basically a free bulk up or a free nasty plot, and then next turn, they're under pressure with all this damage, right? Did you ever use that kind of advantage?
Yeah. I usually only clicked Fake Out when it was like more or less guaranteed, because like if they're like a Terra Ghost Talon flame, or like
Right.
Terra Ghost on anything, it's like a little dicey to go all in on that kind of play.
Right.
But when I did click it, it did work out really well. Like it's especially like a very good like conditioning tool to like not be fake outing and then suddenly clap them on the head in game 3 or something.
Yeah, for sure. And now, besides the Grimmsnarl, I want to talk about some other cool options that we have on this team, and maybe some Pokemon that maybe we normally don't see at the moment. Now, Iron Moth was something that was paired with like Flutter Mane Dondozo back in like Regulation B, but you have it here, and I do see Sludge Wave, and I can kind of see the synergy here with Corviknight Goldango. Was this what you were aiming for?
So originally it was just Corviknight and then Iron Moth. Actually, it's funny. The original draft of this team had a Volcarona, so in a sense, I evolved it to Iron Moth. But yeah, the idea is Corviknight Iron Moth is just pretty dang strong because the Corviknight applies Tailwind Pressure, and then Iron Moth can just sludge wave everything. And most teams have mons that like are just not resistant to poison. So like you're just going to be chunking mons left and right because Iron Moth actually has more special tech than Flutter, and I'm booster special. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're booster special, then that's even more damage, right? So
Oh yeah.
yeah, oh man, I could totally see that. And they have to like kind of give you one or the other. Like, okay, he's going for Sludge Wave, and then maybe if you do stop that or resist it, like how are you dealing with the tailwind from there? And it gets a little bit tricky. And then you just have like these bulky options in the back to come in even when they're done. How often did you do like or Corviknight Iron Moth, just as a little bit of a rule of thumb?
I did it a decent bit. I would say that most of the time I used Iron Moth more so for its energy ball. Like Terra Grass energy ball is pretty good, especially into like balance,
Mm-hmm.
Pal balance, that kind of thing. But yeah, sometimes you just click Sludge Wave and it's funny. I have gone on record. I have gone on record Sludge Wave in my Grimmsnarl. I have done that. I have clicked Earthquake and Sludge Wave on basically every partner in this team. Not even Terra Steel.
Oh, I was gonna
Like
say
it was normal type.
okay.
That is a synergy point. That is Terra Steel. Which I will mention, definitely helps Grimmsnarl. Like there are some end games where it's just like Grimmsnarl's here, and its Spear Break is enough, and I just Terra Steel it, and it helps clean up the end game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's some that like you can use that for synergy. So like the fact that this was Terra Steel, and then it also resists the Flutter Mane, right? So that's also another thing that that this does
Yeah.
for it. I like that a lot. How often did you do like Tinglu Corviknight? Because I can see Earthquake here, and I see like the Tailwind stuff. Like, how often did that come into play?
Quite a bit. Tinglu Corviknight is definitely like one of the more common leads, just like Tinglu plus another guy
Mm-hmm.
is like what I was going for most of the time. There was one time in the tournament I did in fact use Earthquake next to my Iron Moth. That was not Terra Grass.
Uh-oh.
So I'm a little I play this a little crazy sometimes. But yeah, like the spread moves are just like sometimes you're just really good and you don't really mind hitting yourself, even if you don't have the immunities. Like even like Annihilate, it's a little sneaky, but if you Earthquake or Sludge Wave your Annihilate, Annihilate is not taking that much, and it's getting Rage Fist procs.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that interaction. And you can also
Yeah,
just heal up your damage with Drain Punch at the end
yeah,
anyway.
for sure. Like, the biggest thing about Rage Fist is the most important hit is the first hit, and what are they going to do when you hit yourself?
Right, right, right. I see the idea there. Now my other question here is, how often did you try, for example, like Corviknight Grimmsnarl just to like set up Tailwind and set up screens? I know it's like somewhat passive, but maybe just
I
yeah.
I
Go ahead.
often lead those two.
Oh, okay, that's
That's
my favorite
my
lead.
that's my often lead. It's not always just screens Tailwind because
Hmm.
like turn one, I usually don't just do that because most of the time I'm looking down folks that are not going to be OHKOing me, and I'm just going to be wasting away my own Tailwind. So
Right,
what I usually do, I usually lean on like setting one screen and then like just brave birding, iron heading,
chip damage.
just like just like beginning to chip things, maybe even OHKOing a Flutter Mane that is a little too ambitious. Uh, with Iron Head, obviously. And then sometimes I just like begin just spirit breaking and brave birding, like not even tailwinding yet until these two mons get like pretty low, and then I hit tailwind.
Oh yeah, like I can totally see that, and I would just say like thinking of some other plays where like this is something I also like to do, where like you have Tinglu plus something else that's not a flying type as a lead, and then in an open TG, oh he's not gonna earthquake me, but then you just click earthquake anyway, but then switch into
Yeah, I'm
Corviknight.
literally psychotic. I will earthquake my Iron Moth.
Oh man. Oh okay. And then, but what I was gonna switch out the Iron Moth for the Corviknight, and then like a hole,
It's a little hard to switch
Yeah.
out Iron Moth because you really
Oh
like
yeah,
that
because
booster
of the
energy.
booster. Yeah, that's all. That's true. That's true.
That is hard. I do have a hard time switching out. You do have to eventually, obviously. But it is a hard switch out. Obviously, you can just Terra Grass it,
Yep.
and then Earthquake is fine. Even like Sludge Wave into Tinglu is also like fine too, especially if you Terra Poison to dodge the 10% poison, because I have lost a game to Sludge Wave on hitting Annihilate and poisoning it.
Oh man. Well, that's a little bit of RNG, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it can happen.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And so this is a really cool team. So it's nice to like really peek at all these different Grimmsnarl sets, not just from your squad, but from some of these other players. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna delve a little bit more of a deeper dive into Grimmsnarl and start discussing, maybe. Well, look, I want to use Flutter Mane, but can I use Grimmsnarl on the same team? Let's take a look. All right, folks. So now we're back here on the Showdown ladder, and again, you as a viewer, you might be asking yourself, well, maybe I'm a little iffy by adding Flutter Mane and Grimmsnarl on the same team. They're both fairy types. Maybe I want a little bit more coverage elsewhere. I don't want the same quote unquote maybe weaknesses, but it actually can work. And in fact, the other teams that we did show you, they often did have a Grimmsnarl and a Flutter Mane on the same team. So Jag, why is it still working in terms of like putting these two together? Why does that still work?
The main reason is because they are doing very different things.
Right.
Grimmsnarl is this supportive or disruptive, depending on the set, obviously. Like, we saw the fake tears one, we saw the screens one. There's a supportive one and there's a disruptive one, but Flutter Mane, it only has one real goal, and that goal is to end careers. It's doing damage, killing guys. That's its main role. And Grimmsnarl is not doing that. So, like, stacking the two in terms of, like, what specific function they roll is not that bad. And, like, if you get into the semantics of the actual type that you're stacking, some types are not as good to stack. I'll admittedly, like, you don't really want to stack like rock type unless it's sand, obviously.
Right.
But because rock has so many weaknesses. But for fairy, you only have two, and these two specifically only share one weakness, and that is steel.
Right.
And steel, in terms of like offensive coverage, it's not very common. Like, if we look at the statistics, the first mon that will run steel moves is Goldango, which admittedly is strong into this, but it's only on 12% of teams.
Right.
Like, that's the highest usage steel type, so you can get away with having two steel types. Poison is another weakness of fairy that only Grimmsnarl shares, and unless you find a lot of people running Iron Moth after this, and no, Amoonguss does not count as a poison type, you're not going to see poison types starting Grimmsnarl at all.
Yeah, the poison is more for the defensive typing, right? Just to resist.
Yeah, it's much more
stuff.
offensive. Yeah. There's an occasional Sludge Bomb Glamora. Occasionally, right. It's pretty rare. Mostly you'll just have Mortal Spin and call it a day, which is obviously not doing much. But yeah, like Grimmsnarl and Flutter Mane have very different weaknesses, and they're doing very different things, which allows you to run two fairy types. Like, even fairy, like, in general, is just a very good typing to stack. Like, offensively and defensively, it's just very good typing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the one thing, folks, that if anything you can take away is, you know, if you do want to run Grimmsnarl and Flutter Mane, this is a premier example of, as long as the two mons are doing different things, they can work, right? So another example of this is something like, I've seen some top cut teams with like Arcanine and Chiyu on the same team, right? The Arcanine is kind of like the Grimmsnarl. It's just meant to like be supportive, right? And then the Chiyu is like the big damage dealing sweeper, somewhat like the Flutter Mane role, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it can work. It just really depends on like, okay, who's doing what, and you're like, are they the same role? Like, you can't put two sweepers with the same typing. That's like a little bit counterintuitive. You're just wasting a slot, right? It's just,
yeah.
You need something else there. So now what we're gonna do, folks, we're gonna give you at least one more example where you can use Grimmsnarl and Flutter Mane on the same team, and hopefully make some good use of this, the upcoming team that we're gonna give you. So let's take a look here. All right, so we do have Grimmsnarl and Flutter Mane here. We're gonna adjust the movesets in a second. But Jag, what are you thinking of like bringing back the Corviknight on over here with, of course, Mirror Armor, and then let's add a ground Earthquake user, not the Tinglu necessarily, but let's put Garchomp here.
Yeah, I think if you're running to use like a special, like you're wanting to use the special attacker of Flutter Mane like extensively, I think Garchomp makes a lot of sense. It's also like obviously very fast, much faster, and it's like, I did use Garchomp Corviknight for a while, and its speed is one of the really nice things about it. So yeah, I think this is a very good start.
Yeah, and then from here, I was just thinking of like, you know, adding your VGC condiments where like you can just have a Gyarados here again, a little bit, a little bit more synergy with Earthquake, and then
slappable mons.
Yeah, then just the Chiyu. You know, your little regulationC ruined Pokemon to help your Flutter Mane deal some damage behind screens. Can you imagine these two behind screens and then they're just dealing a bunch of damage?
That would be really hard to deal with, especially if you went like a more bulkier set on the both of them. Like
Yeah.
I've seen some Chiyus have like weirdly high amounts of bulk, and it's just like really hard to nail them sometimes. And then like if you had screens on top of that, it's going to be pretty hard, especially screens and tailwind.
Yeah.
That would be pretty hard to deal with.
Oh, for sure. That's like the whole idea here. And then you just couple like this stuff with like a little bit of speed control mechanics and some setup stuff. So let's just quickly build this. That's a item. So I like clear amulet. I guess you can go life orb here, but you know, just clear amulet or life orb I think are ideal. And then just something like earthquake, stomping tantrum, your dragon move, and then just protect. I know that's dragon breath. I'm gonna fix that in a second. But I feel like this is just as standard as it gets for Garchomp with like Terra Fire, in my opinion, I like a lot just for not
I
only
use Terrifier.
oh yeah, the burn stuff for sure, but then like you're just able to resist the Chiyu and Flutter Mane combination on the other side.
Yeah, that's the big thing about Terrifier.
Hmm.
Like before this draft, I had a bunch of mons that just were Terrifier, just specifically for that core.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. Now, what do you think about this Grimmsnarl set here? Again, like the screens with Spirit Break and Fake Out, Terra Poison, or do you have like some other idea here?
Terra Poison is interesting. I definitely can see why you'd want it over Steel. You could also consider Ghost, because I was actually Ghost before Steel. Honestly, I only ran Terra Steel and liked Terra Steel because I was lazy and did not want to spend 50 Terra Shards getting a new Grimmsnarl. So
Oh
I
yeah,
used my Steel one.
I see.
And you know what? It worked out. So I definitely think Ghost can work because it also just like there are some leads. It's not common, but it can happen where you're getting faked out or like extreme speeded before you can
Right,
move.
exactly.
And then like either if fake out and KO'd or like extreme speed just killing you because Dragonite goes crazy sometimes. And so like Terra Ghost is nice to dodge that.
For sure. Yeah. Like we can go Ghost here. I think that's okay. Corviknight here, I feel like, you know, just another standard set here with like Tailwind, Brave Bird, Iron Head, and Roost behind the screens. I know that's Iron Defense. Just give me a second here. Like Corviknight, like you just sit behind the walls and then just heal up and just do chip damage and let these two homies clean up in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, especially considering like with Iron Head especially. I know some people like Body Press. I think Iron Head is way too good because it can OHKO a lot of Flutter Manes. Like if you had to run like a certain amount of attack to OHKO bulkless Flutter Mane,
Mm-hmm.
but like it's definitely worth it to just pop that thing.
Yeah, when I was building like Corviknight teams with Garchomp balance, I had to put a little bit more attack because a lot of the Flutter Manes are a little bit bulkier now, so you need a little bit more attack to like pick them up.
Yeah.
But we will discuss that towards the end. Now, what item do you like here? I feel like there's Lumberry, Safety Goggles, as like some pretty cool options here, or some Recovery Berry.
Obviously, I used Lum.
Mm-hmm.
I could see you putting the Lum on the Gyarados though, and
Could
then
do
going
that.
Terra Fire here for this set.
Okay. Yeah.
The real reason why I was Terra Water was because I liked its matchup into Pala balance
Mm-hmm.
because water is just a lot harder for them to hit.
Right. Yeah.
But fire, if you're not Lum, I definitely think fire can help you a lot.
Yeah, and then you can even do like you can do a goggles here, or if you want the lum, you can do that, or a recovery berry. I've also
Because
like. Oh, go ahead.
I think Gyarados will be taking the Lum. It could have this Guav / Citrus Berry, and if it does take the Healing Berry, I think you can argue for the Lum back on Corviknight. But yeah, that's just my first look at it.
Let's put the citrus here. And let's put the lum here. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah.
I do kind of like Corviknight's ability to just kind of sit in front of Among Us.
Okay. So you want like the goggles?
I think Goggles or Lum
Yeah.
goes here.
Okay.
I think one of the two.
Okay, let's put the goggles there, and then let's either give him the recovery berry.
Yeah, we can try the recovery berry. This command fits taunt anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Now I have seen also like Terra Dragon Corviknight because resist the electric and the fire moves. So there's a couple
Yeah,
options here.
I was Terra Dragon, but that was like Series 2.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let's
yeah,
go.
it's just
Let's go Terrifier.
there's too many Flutter Manes. There's
Yeah.
too many Flutter Manes when matchups that you might want to Terra.
Yeah. Let's just go Terrifier. I think that's okay.
Terrifier is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here now, because we have a Chiyu, I do like Dazzling Gleam here a little bit. Like I can understand like all single target moves. I think we definitely keep Thunderbolt here just for the Palafin Gyarados matchup. Shadow Ball for sure. Do we want D-Gleam here, or is it like a toss-up between Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast with the Chiyu?
I think it's a bit of a toss-up, but ultimately I think Moonblast is just a real killer. So
Sure. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Now with the Chiyu here, I feel like, you know, Dark Pulse is your stab. You know, I do like Protect on my Chiyus. And I do like Heat Wave. Now, do you like some other tech move here, or do you just like straight up want Overheat?
now for this team, I think it definitely wants Terra Grass, Terra Blast.
Yep. Yeah.
Because we're having a very hard time hitting water types, especially like Dondozo.
What do you think of this?
Yeah, like Life Orb, Terra Grass, Terra Blast.
Exactly. This is also why I also did like Chiyu when I did do like Garchomp balance, just to like have immediate pressure with the Life Orb. I know there's like safety goggles, nasty plot sets, but I feel like that's better with like Amoonguss stuff. But
yeah, it's better with redirection.
Yeah, so I feel like just put Life Orb here. Gyarados, I feel like, you know, you just do like Waterfall, the Thunder Wave stuff, a little bit more speed control besides your Tailwind, your Taunt, and your Helping Hand or Protect. What do you like?
So I kind of don't like Thunder Wave much as a move, like just in general.
Okay.
I do see it's necessary that it is good in some matchups. But I think you don't have to have Thunder Wave. You can do something spicy, like a top 4 team that I played in Swiss of the tournament that I had.
Okay.
The Gyarados was Chilling Water.
Ooh. Did it have Waterfall?
It had Waterfall, Chilling Water, Taunt, Thunder Wave.
Oh.
So it didn't have
Thunder Wave.
Okay, yeah, I must have misremembered.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Waterfall, Chilling Water, Taunt, and Thunder Wave. Okay, yeah, I mean that makes sense too. Oh wait, I just want to like do a little order. This is just me like, oh wait a minute. Waterfall. I'm sorry, Chilling Water. So attack reduction, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, it's like it's just like a damaging attack reduction kind of thing. It's like to help you slow down. I don't know how good it is, obviously. I haven't played it, but I just saw it and I thought it was kind of neat. I definitely think Gyarados has more options than just the. I think Waterfall is non-negotiable, but I think it has a lot of other options like Helping Hand, Terra Blast, even some Iron Head, Terra Steels, even some like Dragon Dance sets that like play like totally differently.
Those are offensive ones.
Yeah, the offensive ones like have some room.
This thing gets Scary Face.
Yeah, you can even run Scary Face like that one guy who played Scary Face. I do think Thunder Wave is like, because the point of the games last longer. It makes Thunder Wave a little better, but it's up to you.
Yeah, we'll keep Thunder Wave for now, you know. But you as the viewer, you have options. What do you think of your Terra? Do we just go Terra Steel here, or do you have another?
Yeah, I think Terra Steel's like fine enough for the most part.
Yeah.
You could do some cute things with like Terra Grass or like Terra Ground, like Terra Grass specifically, because I definitely have seen an uptick in Thunderbolt's Flutter Manes.
Oh, for sure. They need that if they don't have the electric coverage.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of them. I don't like them because I play Corviknight. But
yeah. But hey, this is again another example of a team where you can have Grimmsnarl and Flutter Mane together. And because look, what is Grimmsnarl doing? Setting up screens, making the team entirely bulky. You know, you doing fake out. You know, allowing you to do like potential tailwind plays or just like, you know, free damage. And then your Flutter Mane is basically a sweeper. So it overall works. You have intimidate. You have speed control here. The screens. It's a very another version of balance, as we like to say in this format. Now you might notice that there's no EVs here, so if you are interested in those, we are now showcasing Jag, and Jag does coaching. So if you want to build a cool team like this with fully fleshed out EVs and to improve your play overall in VGC, just like we mentioned in our previous video, one of those things you have to do, well, you don't have to do, but if you want to do to get better at VGC, you should consider coaching, and Jag offers that. And this is what we're showing now. Jag's Twitter page here, where he offers Metafy coaching. And if we click the link here, this is where we'll be taken to Jag and his Metafy coaching page. So Jag, would you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on here on this screen here in terms of coaching? What are you offering?
Yeah, well, I'm offering like matchup prep, rank ladder shadowing, even like team building, and like one of the things that because I play like all sorts of weird, wacky mons and do pretty well with them, relatively speaking. I like to promote the idea of bringing others to try to break their own like favorite mon. Like obviously, I'm probably going to tell you Spite Up sucks, and you probably shouldn't play it. But I mean, I'm not going to stop you. We're all here to have fun at the end of the day. So like, if you have a mon that you really want to break, and I'm just gonna help you take a look at what this mon is doing and how we can really like push it forward in this metagame.
Yeah, and Jag has, and of course, like with Metafy, you have a little bundle here. If you do more than one session with Jag, you're able to get a discount as far as like your rate. But it looks like a one session thing is what, 20 bucks?
Yeah, it's $20 across the board for all of them.
Okay.
I do like replay analysis is a little cheaper overall, but like pretty much like it's like $20 an hour, and then reduce up to $16 an hour. But yeah, it includes like best of threes, like matchups, matchup prep. Like I want to beat the Glimdozo teams, the Gomordozo teams that are running around. Oh, all of our favorites. Yeah, I want to beat up that team. Like, how do I do that? Like, let's play it out. Let's see your lines. Let's see how we do it.
Oh, go ahead.
You can go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, as a little bit of a jab to either myself, but I've had some people come up to me, like they message me and say, "Hey Clover, I ran into your snow team on land, or how do I beat it?" And I'm like, well, if you book a session with me, I can teach you how to beat my own team. Yeah, it does happen. But hey, again, if you're interested in getting coaching with Jag, he'll help you with all things VGC. He's got training plans for you, whether you're a beginner, you just want to get started, or if you're trying to do regional prep, Jag will definitely help you out there. He's been around for a while, and is a very proven player. He just won a tour, so he's got all this best of 3 experience. So if this is something you're interested in, definitely sign up with Jag. We'll put his Metafy description, the link below. But Jag, thanks for joining us here and talking all things Grimmsnarl. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we say goodbye to the viewers?
I definitely want to just shout out my team building group, the Lilypad Boys. You know who you are. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So once again, folks, we're heading into the new month of the regulationC format. There's going to be a couple more regionals coming up, right? We got Hartford, we got Portland coming up. So if you are going to any of those regionals, make sure you get coaching with either Jag or even myself, just to try and get that team that you need, in preparation for those tours, or just something even for like online ranked play. Feel free to sign up over here. Again, he's on Metafy. We're going to put his link there. But that's going to be it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.
See ya.